TV studio. Today we're going to be talking about the Menendez Brothers. I'm your host Maxine, and joining me is America, Brianna, and Cassandra. Our first segment will talk about their case. Our second segment will go over their childhood and their abuse. And our third and final segment, we'll talk about how this could have been prevented. So let's get started with the first case. If you guys have any details about that.
Yeah, Eric Menendez was 18 years old at the time of the crime, and his older brother was 21, and it happened in August of 1989, which is almost 30 years ago
30
now.
years ago, yeah. Crazy.
This happened in their Beverly Hills home mansion, so it wasn't suspected at all. No one ever heard of a murder going on in Beverly Hills. So when the detectives came in, the brothers weren't treated as suspects at all.
Yeah, because they called it in.
Yeah, they were the ones that called
oh my
it.
god, we found them dead.
Yeah. And then when they started looking at the crime scene, there was no shell casings because the parents were shot with a shotgun. And it was very gruesome because their skulls were like cracked open because of the shotgun, and there was like brain matter spilling out onto the floor.
Oh my goodness.
And they called it one of the most disgusting,
You couldn't even
Yeah.
tell who the people were.
I
Yeah.
believe it. I believe it.
yeah.
And the brothers, they had called it in, and what they said was they had just come back from the movies.
Yeah.
And they saw that. And then they basically said, if the authorities had questioned us more or did their due diligence, they would have caught them right in there. Because they had the gun residue in their hands.
Literally,
And
on
they-
their clothes, it was fresh. Even the air smelled like gunpowder.
Yeah,
Wow.
and they had the casings in their trunk.
Yeah.
And they were searching around the area, so they could have looked in the trunk, and they
Yeah.
didn't.
Actually, I have an article here, according to Capital FM, written by Katie Smith, published on October 9th of 2024. Eric Menendez, during an interview, said that if there was already shells in their car, and then the car was in the search premises. So if they would have opened that trunk, they would have found the
They
shell
would have been
casing.
caught then
They would
and
have been
there.
caught then and there. No, like investigating. Just genuinely, yeah, they would have been caught. And then, second of all, if they would have just pressed him, he said, he wouldn't have been able to withstand any questioning because he was in a state of shell shock and just genuinely like.
He could have blurted it out.
Yeah.
Right then and there.
Yeah.
Gruesome scene. It must have been very traumatic, even for him as the killer, to see that.
And they didn't even treat them as like suspects at all. So that's why they didn't
You know why?
interview them or nothing.
Because there's the Beverly Hills police.
Yeah.
Like police department is separated from the Los Angeles Police Department because Beverly Hills is like
It's like their own little community.
bougie,
More money, more funding.
customer service for the cops. So they were comforting the brothers instead of treating them as a suspect.
Because they would have never thought. Like, I feel like no one would have ever thought, like, their kids just killed their parents.
Yeah.
Like,
It's such a
that's
deep
just-
case too. Like by just looking at this family, you could not have been able
they
to
look
tell
like
that's
the
what's happening
perfect
behind closed
family.
doors.
But people started to get suspicious because shortly after the murders, they got a life insurance payout over $600,000, and
They started
they were spending that money.
spending.
They were spending that money. They were buying cars. They were buying
Watches.
Rolex watches.
Yeah.
They were going on trips. They were
Clothes.
shopping. And so that didn't help once they got caught, that really didn't help their case because a lot of people were like, oh, this is financially motivated. This is a financially motivated case.
Yeah, and one of the brothers dropped out of school and hired a professional tennis coach so he could go pro during his tennis. Yeah.
I read an article by the Death Penalty Information Center from 2024, and the prosecutor said they were just privileged young men acting out of greed. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Which is
And I know Netflix came out with the drama doc-series, and, like, everyone was just, like, that made the case even more famous.
Yeah.
Like, it brought it back to, like, the nationwide, and everyone was talking about it. Like, literally everyone. I remember going to school, we're like, oh my god, have you seen this? Have you seen this?
Have you seen Monsters?
Yes. But also, I read an article according to the Harvard Law School by Giselle. It said, at the same time, however, the show received backlash, including from the brothers and their family, for incorporating misleading theories and falsehoods that portrayed the brothers in a negative light. One of the most controversial elements in the suggestion of incestuous relationships between Eric and Lyle Menendez. Because in the series, there's this guy saying, like, what if they were like trying to be a couple,
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's why
I
they
s-
told their parents.
It made it more fictional, like they weren't real people,
Yeah.
but this was
Yeah.
like
So,
something
and then people
real.
were believing it because they're like, oh, this is a documentary.
Yeah, this is.
But it was a
Yeah.
drama documentary, so they dramatized it.
Yeah.
But everyone was like believing that theories, and it was just like a lot of like wrong theories that they made for them.
Yeah, it was like their only source of information about the case, and they just went with it.
Yeah.
When there's so much more into the story.
Yeah, and it's like this case was like highly publicized because nobody like it happened in Beverly Hills. The family is like high profile, so at the time they thought like, oh, like in our generation we have like the Epstein files, P Diddy and whatnot, but back then the idea of like some big recording executive and his family like being involved in that kind of stuff was unheard of. They're like, well, we don't think he
'cause had
did
a
that.
lot of power. And
Yeah,
like
like so
Yeah.
the case, I think Court TV, it was one of their first like broadcasts where they're actually like broadcasting it.
Did they
like day
broadcast
one,
the
day
trial?
two? They did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the prosecutor was like, why is there so much cameras? Like, I feel like this is just crazy. There's so much suspense and like there's so much drama. I don't want to be here. She was like, I don't want to be here.
Wow.
But I know, going back a little, Eric did confess to his psychologist / therapist, and the therapist did have a mistress that he would tell her everything,
Wow.
and she ended up telling the authorities.
Yeah.
And that's how they got caught.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
I know. She spilled all the beans.
Yeah.
And that's how they got caught.
And the same therapist was actually bought out by his father at the time, the brother's father, and he would tell the father all of his business, all of the, I think it was Eric, if I'm not wrong, all of Eric's
Yeah, I think it
business to
was.
the father. So he was violating HIPAA laws left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And enabling their father's control on their life.
Yeah.
They had no privacy at all. And they couldn't be like, that wasn't helping them.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't say anything without. I don't think they knew that. They didn't know
No.
that their parents were
Which is
getting all this information.
Yeah.
so terrible.
And then going back to what you said about how no one suspected it, at the time, like in 1980s, there was this theory that, actually the brothers would set this theory out there, but they were like, I think it was the mafia. I think it was...
Yeah.
What?
Like, even like in the interviews, it'd be like, if this was you, the mafia, you'll see what's coming for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Like things
They
like
were
that.
trying to,
That's crazy.
divert it.
They were trying to be like, it was the mafia, not us. Because his dad did have a lot of connections and relationships with people, so there's a lot of suspects on the table.
The mafia was like, now why am I in
The
it?
mafia was like,
What did I do?
What did I
I
do?
wasn't
Even
even
there. Like,
Yeah.
But no, yeah, that you can just tell that like Eric, like like he said, like if he would have gotten like interviewed right then and there, he would have blurted it all out because he literally told his therapist.
Yeah.
Like, that's so sad.
And then when they got arrested, they like brought SWAT teams. They like cornered them off, and they said like they just did it for show because it was such a big case at the time.
Yeah.
Because who would have suspected a
Wait,
murder?
where did they get caught
Right.
at?
I'm pretty sure someone was. I don't remember which brother it was, but one was like shopping.
Yeah.
Of course they were
I
shopping.
think
You know?
spending that
Of
money
course,
while they
spending that
could,
money. Yeah.
of course.
That's crazy. But now that we've talked about their case, let's get into their childhood and why they killed their parents. You guys want to start off?
They had a long time of abuse, like their whole childhood. Lyle was molested from the ages of 6 to 8 from his father, and it turned into rape over time. But Eric was abused by his father his whole life, from young childhood
till the killing.
till the killing.
Yeah.
And the whole argument with their father kind of started because Eric told Lyle that he was still being molested by his father. Like,
And then
that
Lyle confronted
mm-hmm.
his father, and then that's when they were like, "We're scared our parents are gonna kill us because we
Yeah.
confronted them."
Yeah.
So then that's why they shot them. But yeah, their abuse was like, it lasted a really long time.
And then they also confided in other people and told them about the abuse, such as like their family members, their cousin, even their mom.
Yeah.
They told their
Mom, yeah.
mom, and she chose the husband over them, her own kids.
And their profile. She
Yeah.
didn't want their profile to be like
corrupted.
Yeah.
And she contributed to the abuse as well. I read an article by EBSCO in 2022 that said the mother contributed to their sexual abuse, Eric's sexual abuse, in his early childhood till when he was about 13.
Yeah.
It wasn't as severe as his father's sexual abuse towards him, but it was still happening.
She excused it. She was like, I remember Eric said that it was his punishment, and his dad is allowed to punish him. Basically excusing everything that.
They're
And
brainwashed,
yeah.
literally.
And then I read on the National Child Traumatic Stress Network's website that children who have experienced sexual abuse often exhibit inappropriate behaviors, sometimes on their siblings or other children in the area. And one big thing in the trial was when I think Lyle went on the stand and he started talking about an instance where he did that to Eric, and then he apologized like on television to Eric right there, and it made like it was like such an emotional moment, and everybody's like crying, and but not only that, like all of what like they went through, it was like they like testified like publicly. It was very detailed.
They didn't leave out any details during the trial.
I know like the jury couldn't even come to a verdict, because I know a lot of the females voted to not have them in lifetime, and all the males, because they didn't believe that boys could get abused or sexually abused.
And they had 2 juries. The first trial had 2 juries, one for each brother, and they couldn't agree.
And they had 2 attorneys too at the time.
So the second trial, there was just one attorney, and then
they were, when they did the second trial, they were like, okay, we're gonna just, because I think their mindset was like, okay, well, these things happened when they were like 6 or 7 or whatnot. So it's like they were like, let's exclude that and let's just focus on like what happened. And then that's when they got convicted by the single jury.
Yeah, they literally only focused on like the killings, not even like their testimony of what had happened their whole entire life.
And that was the thing that most contributed to the cause of the killings. According to NBC4 Los Angeles, written by Mary Harris, published in September 2017, Lyle, behind bars, in an interview said, "It was unspeakable what I was feeling growing up in that house, and it all just poured over that weekend when I realized that this was happening to my brother as well," talking about the sexual assault. And my mother knew what happened to me, and she made a series of choices, choosing her husband over her children. So it was just like a bunch of emotions and a bunch of, my father stopped doing this to me, and he went to go do it to my brother. So he kind of felt at fault. So he confronted his father, and then that's where everything went downhill, because they thought they felt threatened that the father was going to do something, because there was at one point where the father asked, I'm pretty sure Eric, what would happen if he went to go tell someone, and then Eric was like, "Oh, you'd get mad," and then the father was like, "No, try again," and then Eric was like, "You'd kill me," and then he was like, "Yes, exactly." So
he knew there would be a consequence for speaking up, whether it be to
and their
him or
dad
to
had
his
like
father.
anger issues too. So
Yeah.
that definitely contributed to their fear.
And then it's like later on, like decades later, I think one of the band was called Menudo. The Mexican boy band. One of the members was like, "Hey, Jose Menendez, the dad, he was doing stuff to me."
He recently said this, right?
Yeah. Like maybe in
Because he was like,
past several years, and then that's when they're like, okay, we want a new trial because there's new evidence.
yeah, because he was like the manager, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The dad was the manager of that group.
Yeah.
And then one of them was like, he was abusing me too. I know like a lot of people on like social media were saying Kim Kardashian's gonna free them.
Oh my
goodness.
She posted a tweet about the trial.
Yeah.
Let's see if she can pass the bar exam first, guys. Let's see if she can pass the exam first. One step at a
Don't
time.
move too fast now. Don't move too fast now.
Yeah, but that's crazy how they went through that their whole entire life until the killing.
Yeah.
And no one believed them.
Or he was abusing other people like he didn't believe anybody.
Yeah, and like I said before, it's like this case I think was like, because there was this case, and then like several years after. There was the O.J. Simpson case, and so this case and the O.J. Simpson case like made people change the perception of like, okay, these like high profile people are doing like really
Bad stuff.
shady stuff,
Yeah.
bad stuff. You know, like with like in our time, it's like, I mean, it's not unheard of. I mean, we're like rich people, high profile people. They have like all the means to do this stuff. But back then, they were like, oh, these people are like well accomplished. They have
Yeah,
like all of
exactly.
these things. So it's like, why would they risk it all
They got away
to
with it.
do crimes? Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's science behind the effects of trauma in someone's childhood, and it shows that there's a powerful link between childhood abuse and late criminal things. I think you said that
Yeah.
before too. So it was just like a case of it was gonna happen.
It's like when,
Yeah.
not if, but when,
Mhm.
which is unfortunate.
But now that we talked about their abuse and their childhood, let's talk about now how this could have been prevented and how the boys could have been helped.
To be honest, it could have just been prevented if people who heard their stories at the time, which the brothers confided in, would have came out for help, because there's so much help out there for victims and just in general.
But I was reading this article according to Our Street by Julian Snyder. She was saying that victims of incest are less likely to disclose their abuse than those abused by non-family members. This silence is often due to fear of disrupting the family's dynamic, loyalty to the abuser, or fear of others not believing them.
Yeah.
So it's like a statistic that a lot of people that go through that are less likely to disclose that than if it was another person doing it to them.
Yeah, and not only that, like from the prosecution's perspective, they were like, oh well, they didn't have to murder their parents. They could have gone a different route. They could have told somebody. They could have went to law enforcement. But it's like the thing with like sexual abuse and like sexual crimes and like it's so difficult like to report it because it's a crime that like happens behind closed doors. It's like total secrecy. So even like back in like historical times, like 19th century, 18th century, rape was not a crime that was taken seriously unless there were special circumstances involved. And one of those circumstances would have been if the victim and the perpetrator did not know each other.
Yeah.
So I read a 2009 academic article by sociology professor David Finkelhor, and he described the stereotype of offenders and how it affected how the legal system treats, preventionist laws and, treating like criminals that do this, and that stereotype is of like some random creepy guy assaulting just children randomly on the street. But for the most part, for victims, it's somebody they know. It's somebody that they know and trust. And for the Menendez brothers, it was hard for them to even get help in the first place because they're from a high-profile family. They're these rich, white, conventionally attractive dudes, and it's their dad, it's their mom. So.
Yeah. And there was a lot of stigma against sexual abuse against boys in general. Like it couldn't happen to boys or men.
Even back then, like they did not believe that.
Yeah.
That this never happened to boys. It only happens to girls.
And it was shameful too to imagine bringing that up. This happened to you, and they're like, "No, that can't happen."
Exactly.
And they did it on the stand.
Yeah.
That's the crazy
And
part.
a lot of people didn't believe them. They said they were just two rich kids.
Yeah.
People were saying like if this would have happened in today's day and age, like people would have believed them.
Oh yeah. Of
Yeah.
Like
course.
it would have been completely different.
And then the brothers said that they didn't want to come forward about the abuse because it felt to them that they were killing their parents again because they were killing their reputation this time.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel right to them. But they did end up coming out with all of the things, and it came to trial, and a lot of family members stood up for them on the trial because they have heard about the abuse before.
Yeah, a lot of family members and friends testified that they had seen this going on, but sadly.
And that was underreported during that time from boys. Like it was common for sexual assault to happen to boys, but it was just not reported.
Yeah.
And not
Especially by like a
helped.
family member.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, and according to the Safe Kids Thrive Initiative's website, between 70 to 90% of child sexual abuse cases go unreported.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, it's like a really common thing, and I think a lot of it has to do with like it happens a lot within the family, and then when like the kids try to seek out help or speak to an adult about it, most likely within their family, they're not believed, or you know, the family is more concerned about their reputation.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
It makes it kind of normalized that
Yeah.
To
there's
protect
nothing
the
to be
abuser.
done. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, but also I feel like it also could have been prevented, especially from the therapist or the psychologist.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like they were not doing their job like at all.
Yeah, I feel like if you're a therapist, it's like if you hear your patient talking about that, shouldn't you be going to the police? I don't
And
know if that's
still
it
in
or not.
danger. If it's like
No.
still happening to this day and they're
Yeah.
still in danger,
No,
then
they're
I
mandated
would-
reporters.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
therapists are mandated reporters. So
But I
like-
wonder, did Eric ever like tell the therapist like I'm getting abused? Am I getting sexually abused?
I think he alluded to it,
like
like
hinted it.
yeah, because he thought it was normal. He didn't know that this was something wrong that his dad was doing. It was just like, oh, my dad loves me, so he does this.
Yeah.
Which is
He
like-
said on stand that he felt that it was a way to like have a connection with his dad. That
Yeah.
was so sad.
Because the dad would tell him that like every time he did something, so he thought it was just normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was like, oh, you know, it's the only time I get to spend with my dad is like doing this, which is so sad.
This
So
is so sad.
That's like disgusting.
So sick.
No, yeah, but definitely if it would have been like a different therapist slash psychologist, I feel like it could have definitely went.
Yeah,
a
because
different
it's like, what are you telling your girl, but you're not telling the police?
Exactly. It
Mhm.
could have been prevented. They could have gotten help like from an actual
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
safe place.
Yeah, not just because like the mistress snitching, but also because they're like everything they're telling the therapist was going straight to the dad,
Yeah.
Yeah. So then
and
what's
it
the
wasn't
point?
helping them.
Yeah.
Like if they had like a legit therapist, they could have talked them through it, helped their mental health,
gotten out of the house.
gotten out of the house, but
Gotten his dad arrested.
Like specialized
Yeah.
therapy, anything other than just
that
tell
therapist
their
was doing it for
abuser.
the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was doing it for the money,
Mm-hmm.
and that sucks because the brothers had no idea.
Mhm.
They were just saying everything, like being super
They trusted
vulnerable.
him too.
Yeah.
So dumb.
Yeah.
I really do think like part of like the strongest ways to prevent it is, I guess, like just to make people aware that like rape, sexual violence and all that, it's like it's not just one type of person that does it.
Mhm.
It could be literally anybody
Yeah.
that can do it, and it shouldn't be like, you know, just in the limited image of like some random creepy guy like
Yeah.
hunting children
Yeah.
in the streets.
Mhm.
Like it could literally be
Be
anybody. So it's like
anyone.
if a kid comes up to you and they're like, this is what's happening to me at home, this is who's doing it.
You have to believe that.
Yeah.
Even if they just make it a joke, like someone still has to investigate
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah, it's like it's better to report it and then find out, okay, it's not true, than to not report it and then
And then
it
it
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And not one victim looks the same too.
Yeah.
Like it's not just like a little girl getting picked up off the
Yeah.
street. It could be anybody.
Yeah, like Richard Ramirez, like from
Yeah.
our first podcast.
Yeah.
He did it to literally anyone.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's crazy. But that is the Menendez Brothers podcast here at the Solano College TV studio. I'm your host, Maxine. This is America, Brianna, and Cassandra. And we'll see you next time. Bye.